Islam. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7. In love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. If we are all able to, can we please rise and face the east for the Moorish American prayer? We are doing our Moorish American prayer. We are in a cactus pose. 2 fingers to the right, 5 to the left, feet in a 90-degree angle, standing on our square, and please repeat after me. Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
Father of the universe,
the Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
God,
and my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night
Night
and by day,
and by day,
through his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali. Amen. I would like to announce this meeting is now open. I rise and give the highest praise to the Most High, Father God, Allah, honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality, so that we may learn to love instead of hate. Honors to our forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, for preparing the way for our prophet. Honors to all Adab sheiks and all faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish divine and national movement. Honors to the first supreme grand sheik appointed by the prophet, brother Emil. Honors to our current supreme grand sheik, Kinu Umar Bey. Honors to our grand sheik, Lloyd Douglas L. Honors to all officers, honors to all members, honors to all attendants on the call, all Muslims on the world and on the planet, and also honors to our Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Brother Secretary, if you are able to, can you please read the divine constitution and bylaws?
Islam, brothers, chairman, I rise giving all praise to Allah, to the Prophet, to Ali, to the forefathers and foremothers, and to the Asiatic nations and the Muslims all over the world. Salvation, Allah, unity, More Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the More Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the More Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs that he does according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the members of the More Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God alive. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this state government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Acts 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line for necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband, take care of your children, and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds filled with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, who began with his father, God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer, Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Islam, happy holy day. Islamism. Peace and love. Happy holy day. Malcolm.
Islam, happy holy day and gratitude. Questionary and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheiks and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses, each said temples must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali before acting upon by any members. Let it be finance, property, or any life that will cause the members to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any formal officer that violates these laws are subject to be removed from his office under heavy restriction, etc., by the prophet or the grand sheik. Act 2. All members are to attend their ADAB meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents, and on the first case, and on the second, they will be fined $1, which will go on the emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid. And if he has any money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish lifting funds, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he is not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch him. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members will make a public speech. All members, while making a public speech, must not use any assertions against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any members or any organization group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his five senses who is able to do so because out of the Sunday school comes the guidance of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are to teach our people their nationality and their divine creed. And they must know that they are not part and partial. They must know that they are part and parcel of this said government and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free and national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meeting and become a part and parcel of uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then they are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Grand Sheik, if you are able to, can you please read the divine warning by the prophet for the nation?
A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine right as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law in the city hall and among the officials in your government, and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. and I am hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national Constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So, there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, disease, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wide classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with the divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet.
Islam, Grand Sheikh, and gratitude. At this time, I would like to activate the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of Science, Circle 7, divinely prepared by the Prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his Father God, Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father God, Allah. Know thyself and Allah, the genealogy of Jesus, life and works of Jesus in India, Europe, and Africa, in the land of Egypt. Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, the founder of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science to redeem the people from their sinful ways. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy holy day, Muslims and family. Hope all is well. We will be setting this holy day on fire with chapter 42, Holy Instruction on Weakness. I just wanted to throw a few things out there just to, before we get into that. As us, as Moorish Americans, you know, what did the prophet give us and what are we doing? What are we trying to be as Moorish Americans? Was put since kind of a trivia question. What was put since 1925? I'm going to open the floor just a little bit on that, just to see. I mean, anybody can research real quick. I'm gonna say it one more time, just a couple more times, just research it real quick. Open the floor a little bit, and I'm gonna just go into it because all means are to be open and closed promptly. MSTA, as Moorish Americans, what is our duty? Islam, are you at the floor? Or to better put it, what is our duty? And I'm looking in the chats as well. What is our duty? And what did the prophet give for us to be? Islam.
Islam, I like to raise and give Allah the highest of praises and extend honors to our Prophet Noble Jew Ali and to all the Moors on the call. So we have like a lot of that we are supposed to uplift fallen humanity and also to know our higher self. So basically to know our higher self and to know our lower self. So basically if we know our lower selves, we'll be better fit to uplift humanity and also teach our people their nationalities. And with that, I give up the mic. So it's like a lot more than that as well. With that, I give up the mic.
Islamism, you answered everything 100% correctly because I was getting into all of that, all three. And the last one with just a little bit more clarity to it, to be a better citizen. That was in 1925 that the prophet gave us. And by doing that, just like when we go to our Fridays and our Sundays, what we break down what the prophet gives us in the versions of the all prophets that we honor. Buddha, Confucius, Jesus and Muhammad. And the genealogy of Jesus, which is a little bit deeper with us, that the prophet gives us. The genealogy of Jesus brings Jesus in with us as bloodline and as Moors that we know that all is within. Islam, and this is the, and we about to get ready for a great build. We always are, we always gonna raise our thoughts to infinite wisdom. We always look at the soul of the subconscious. So we always got to think about that. And before we go into chapter 42, I'm going to leave it at there just to open the mic on the soul of the subconscious. First, we also got to understand what the subconscious is, and then we also got to understand the soul and the soul of the subconscious. So I want to yield the floor to what is the thoughts, because there's no wrong answer. What is the thoughts uh, with your five senses that's giving you when it comes to that? The soul of the subconscious, Islam.
Yeah, Islam. I like to re-rise, and so the only thing that I can give, like you said, the soul of the subconscious. So what I take from that, because what I get from sub, which means under, you know what I'm saying. So if something is under is kind of like out of sight by default. So to me, the soul and the subconscious is kind of like, to me, I would say the subconscious is, if you will, kind of like the mind of the soul, because a lot of us, as we come into this knowledge, we start to know the difference between our soul, our body, and our spirit. So some of those things, we have like these hidden parts that's inside of us, but we don't know what they are yet, what they are until they activated. It's just like I say, say for instance, like let me get a good reason. Just say, for instance, like you running real fast and hard, and you get the extra hard, what I'm saying, bumping in your heart. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it lay dormant in there, but if you run for a long time, your heart is going to start beating really fast, and so that part is going to be felt. Or if you have some kind of accident where you get stuck, those parts inside of your body which you can't normally feel, like your appendix, if it gets punctured or something like that, or it starts going bad, then you'll be able to feel that part. But normally they not, what I'm saying, every day, you're not conscious of these different things inside of your body, just like we're not conscious like of our soul and our subconscious mind. And that's kind of what I get from that, was with the knowledge that I have so far. With that, I give up the mic.
Islam. And that's a great demonstration. And now I'm going to ask you a question, because I'm going to build on that demonstration. Because again, this is what I'm trying to demonstrate right now as Moorish Americans, as members, and further on when it comes to the science. We all scientists are Moorish Americans. What would the prophet think that would be called? Like, as far as your demonstration of what you gave, because you gave what you had gave, that was great. What you had gave was just, you pretty much dug in deep in that question and gave out a power that couldn't be subscribed in words. Now, what I'm trying to get to with that power that couldn't be described in words, what the prophet been trying to tell us that we have in us, within us, is latent powers. Islam, that's the latent powers that the prophet had. That's the latent powers that you just demonstrated. Islam. And that's what we as Moorish Americans, when we study, we dig into this, we eat this down, we dig into this, we study this, we dig into this. Those three things that we have, the Holy Koran, the Moorish literature, and our one-on-ones, those are one of the three most powerful things we have as Moorish Americans. And within that, everybody is a minister, Islam. Now, with that, I yield the floor to our Grand Sheikh, chapter 42, Holy Instructions from the Prophet Weakness, Islamism.
All right, Islamism, and gratitude, Chairman, for demonstrating. Appreciate you, brother. and just wanted to express gratitude. Now, one thing before we get started into chapter 2, before we actually start reading from it, just want to explain some things about this. We're speaking about weakness, right? But when we're doing this, we're not just looking at flaws. We're not just looking at character flaws. We're not just looking at moral behavior. Because with this chapter, really with chapters 40 through 44, speaking with on 40, the instability of man, going through 44, where it speaks about misery, we're talking about the 5 foes of man, or the hidden adversaries of man. So in this chapter, as with last week on Holy Day, we're speaking about another hidden adversary. So the prophet is bringing us into the inner sanctum of the human soul. All right. So strength and weakness are struggling for domination. So when the prophet is speaking here, it's not just to point out our flaws, our human flaws. It's not to condemn us. It's to diagnose everything from a spiritual perspective, from a higher perspective, so that we have a better view of what this humanity is, of what this life is. So this chapter is not meant to attack. It's not to make anyone feel bad. It's a blueprint. It's a spiritual blueprint for healing, right? So the first key to understanding this chapter is to recognize, first off, that weakness is not just the lack of strength. Because in the Moorish context, weakness is the imbalance of the soul. This weakness is being misaligned from our divine nature. Weakness is being ruled by the lower self. Go to chapter 3. Read chapter 3, Morris. So when we're being ruled by the lower self, instead of allowing the higher self, instead of allowing the breath of Allah to command, we're operating from weakness. So this is the hidden adversary. You had to pull the curtain back like, hey, this is what's really going on. Because it leads to all types of issues and conditions and, circumstances that we don't really want in our life. It makes things worse when we're operating, from this hidden adversary. All right. So weakness is not some flaw to be shamed. It's a condition to be understood so that we can be alchemists, so that we can transmute, so that we can realize our true divine nature, so that we can get out of this cycle of going through, good times, bad times, misery, whatever. We're going to get out of that cycle. So when we go into this chapter 42, it's unveiling one of our concealed adversaries, right? The inner weakness. So we're not talking about something physical or circumstantial. It's emotional, right? It's mental. And it's hidden beneath, as we'll see in this chapter, it's hidden beneath vanity. It's hidden beneath ambition and desire. So the prophet had to include this chapter in the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America so that we can discern, so that we can see things for what they really are. And by doing that, now we can transcend. We can go beyond the illusions of strength because they mask our vulnerabilities. All right. And these teachings that the prophet bring to us, they parallel the teachings of Jesus. They parallel Buddha's noble truths. They parallel in the Holy Koran when it's warning against what in the Holy Koran of Mecca they call them nafs, Nafs. When it's speaking about the nafs, it's speaking about the lower self. Right? You have to get into Sufism really to get an understanding on that. But yeah, they speak about the lower self in the Holy Koran of Mecca too. Even though it's not always openly taught as it should be. Okay? Krishna also, parallels Krishna's teachings as well. So let's go ahead and go in here. Vain and inconstant as thou art, O child of imperfection. Child of imperfection, right? How canst thou be weak? Is not inconstancy connected with frailty? Can there be vanity without infirmity? Avoid the danger of the one, and thou shalt escape the mischiefs of the other. Now, in this, weakness is hidden, right? Most of the time is hidden in these other traits and characteristics like inconstancy, instability, right? And pride, vanity. It's hidden in those traits. And they distort our perception. They distort our decision making, right? And it's saying vain and inconstant as thou art, oh child of imperfection. Like we're born, out of these conditions and into a world where these types of traits like vanity and stuff like this, these are promoted in this society that we grow up into. So it's like this is what we're being taught to be, to express this weakness, to make decisions from this lower self. When you look in the Bible in James 1 verse 8, it says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. All right? Unstable in all his ways. We can't be double-minded, right? And from a practical level, we want to examine where pride is leading us to, right? And inconstancy. We want to be able to recognize these types of thoughts that come up so that we don't get trapped in it just acting from the lower self. And vanity can camouflage weakness in our character. Because if operating from vanity, from pride, you're not weak. You don't think you're weak, but we are expressing weakness. That's why I'm saying, how canst thou be weak? How can you not be weak if you're acting from these lower self traits? Moving on to verse 2. Wherein art thou most weak? And what wherein thou seemest most strong? And that wherein most thou glorieth, even in possessing the things which thou hast, and using the good that is about thee, right? So this false sense of strength, it blinds us to the vulnerabilities that we have. And so if somebody wants to use you, wants to attack you, that's the easiest way to do it. They're like, okay, he thinks he's real smart. I'm just going to feed his ego. She thinks she's beautiful. I'm going to just feed her ego. Or she thinks doing this is going to make her look better and make her more beautiful. So we just going to feed that ego. And now you pumping poison into your body, right? It's the easiest way to attack, to destroy from within, right? And then also, we misuse our blessings and then overindulge, right? Tearing ourselves down. So we want to practice gratitude without being attached to the outcome. We want to be thankful at all times and not be worried about getting and gaining more things, getting more glory, more acceptance, more, fake love. And when when it's saying it here, strength in the possession of something can become a source of spiritual weakness. Why? Because we have more pride. We think that we strong in this. We think we good. We got it. All right. And that which therein now most thou glorieth, right? That's where we're weakest. All right. So moving on to verse 3. Art not thy desires also frail? Frail. Or knowest thou even that what is thou wouldest wish? When thou hast obtained what most thou soughtest after, behold, it contenteth thee not, right? And in here it's showing like the desires are frail, they're weak, because desire is unstable, right? How many times you get something that you want, you just good, I'm good now. I'm good. I'm thankful. Yeah, right. Right. Once you get something, once your desire is fulfilled, now it's on to the next, right? It leads to dissatisfaction. Now you need more. You got to get more, right? So desire, even the desires, this is letting us know, because you can get trapped, like you get stuck in this cycle of satisfying these desires. It's letting you know to question, where's that desire coming from, right? In the Holy Koran of Mecca, in Surah 102, it says, the mutual rivalry for piling up the good things of this world diverts you right? That's in Surah 102. The mutual rivalry for piling up the good things of this world diverts you, right? So it's like a warning, and that's in the Holy Koran of Mecca, Surah 102. It's like a warning for man not to get so caught up in getting all these things. Like, man, I'm gonna get more money. Let me get this yacht. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's fine and all, but don't get so caught up in that stuff, right? Because it's like the desiring of things is not necessarily a good thing. Buddha, right? And remember, in our nationality card, we honor all the divine prophets: Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. And there's many more. It's just that's what's mentioned on the card. So when we look at what Buddha says, and the first noble truth, right, is revealed by Buddha is that desire is the root of suffering. Right? Now, how do we deal with this? In the Charles Fillmore Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it says that desire must be spiritualized, right? And so, from a practical level, we need to observe our desires. We need to look into what's the origin of this. You know, what's the result going to be? We need to track that. We need to keep track of that so that we know, you know, whether we're just chasing after base desires, you know, from the lower self, or if we're actually doing something to bring good into the world, right? Because spiritually, there's a cost to be paid if we have unchecked desires, because that means we're still slaves to the lower self. All right, and it's a never-ending path to be on, because you never be satisfied, you never be happy, never truly be happy, and always seeking happiness from outside of ourselves. Always looking, you know, for worldly things and, you know, gaining items and stuff like that for happiness. Moving on to verse 4. Wherefore loseth the pleasure that is before thee its relish. And why appeareth that which is yet to come the sweeter? Because thou art wearied with the good of this, because thou knowest not the evil of that which is not with thee. Know that to be content is to be happy. Just once again, going to that, you know, and why appeareth that which is yet to come the sweeter. We're never satisfied, right? If we're not even, you know, aware of these desires, and then we always want stuff, we'll never be satisfied. That's actually what it says in the Bible in Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 10. It says, he who loves wealth will never be satisfied. Never. That's also why here we teach to practice gratitude, even on a daily basis. I mean, you could write it down. You could have it in your journal, just daily writing down what you're grateful for, but also just before going to bed, give thanks. Maybe even when waking up in the morning, give thanks, practice gratitude, just giving thanks for everything, right? And so contentment is different than being complacent, right? Where you just stuck, oh, you're not going to accomplish anything. It's just being thankful, always being happy. So if your thankfulness, your gratefulness is coming from within, right? You're not taking things for granted. You're not taking the people around you for granted. You're thankful and appreciative of all that instead of finding things to be ungrateful for. That's, you know, that makes all the misery and all the, you know, the discomfort and all that stuff disappear. And it's not coming from, oh, you got a diamond necklace or something like that. It's coming from within. Like you don't want to be, oh, I'll be happy when I get this car. I'll be happy when I get that, when I go on this trip, when I do this and that. Happiness should come from within, right? You don't want to be trapped in like, okay, maybe you got family and you got to do a lot of work. You got to take care of all the children and you're complaining about that. Instead of flipping it to being grateful, thankful that your children aren't sick or dead. Like you could find so many things to be thankful for instead of complaining about that stuff. Right? So we got to flip the mindset. This is what the prophet is doing for us in these divine instructions. Flipping the mindset here and now.
right? We don't want to be happy when I get this. We happy, we good right now. And it don't matter how much money or things we got. Okay? True happiness needs to come from within. Verse 5. Couldst thou choose for thyself? Why thy pardon. Couldst thou choose for thyself with thy creator lay before thee all that thy heart could ask for? Would happiness then remain with thee? Or would joy always dwell in thy gates? Right? The human will, corrupted by weakness, it can't grasp lasting joy. It will never be happy, never truly be happy, never truly be content. Right? It don't matter what you give it, because it's the lower self. What is the lower self doing, Morris? What is the lower self doing? It's traveling the world, traveling
Islam going to and fro, seeing who it may devour.
Islam, brother. So the lower self is traveling, seeking whom it may devour. No good can come from it. So if we're stuck in that mindset, that mentality, we can only bring about misery, even for ourselves. It can't grasp lasting joy. You're not gonna be happy when you get the car, the house, the jewelry, the trip, the whatever money, whatever it is that you want. If you aren't happy right now, you ain't gonna be happy then. You might be happy for like an hour or so, but it's not gonna last. Okay? Even if everything is laid out before you. That's why there's like a waiting process for what you're asking for or what you think you want between when it actually manifests in your life. Right? Because of the mentality that we have, especially the more we are slaves to our lower self. Right? So true happiness has to stem from spiritual consciousness. Islam, brother chairman, did you have your hand up? All right. True happiness has to come from spiritual consciousness.
Islam, yeah, I just wanted to camel back on that. It's just like looking at it like in the aspect of, if we look at like how we used to look at things as black, Negro, or color. You have two ways of looking at things as black, Negro, or color. You look at things as either the survival mode, what you don't have and what you're trying to get, or the carnal predator mode. And that's, I'm getting this and I'm feeling good about that, devouring, seeking who, you know what I'm saying, I may devour. Complete lower self in all aspects of both ways of looking at it. So once we look at what the prophet give us, we understand that, okay, that's not even nothing with, has nothing to do with the higher self, going to the higher self. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, brother. I'm glad you said that, and we have to rise above the lower self. The lower self is the reason why there's tons of plastic in the ocean. The lower self is why, the medicines and stuff that they put out, they all have a ton of side effects that could mess you up, right? That's why they put stuff in the food. It's not really good for you. It's all because people are trapped in that mind state of the lower self, right? And it'll never bring about happiness, right? Because the true happiness has to come from within. So if we're craving things, it's like, what do we really want from this, right? Because the things that we're wanting or chasing, we'll never be happy, right? It just brings about more craving. Always gonna want more, so it won't bring about peace. All right. Moving on to verse 6. Alas, thy weakness forbiddeth it; thy infirmity declareth against it. Variety is to thee in the place of pleasure, but that which permanently delighteth must be permanent, right? So we don't want to be chasing after novelty things. It always leads to dissatisfaction. All right. When we look in the Bible, when we look in the scriptures, going to Proverbs 20:20, I'm going to put this in the chat. Proverbs 20:20. Okay. When you look at that, it says, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied, right? Getting trapped in that mind state, not even realizing it, will never be satisfied. Something that we could practice just on a weekly basis is just, fasting from indulgence, just on a weekly basis, right? Because none of this stuff is, none of this stuff really leads to satisfaction. It's always the wanting the more. Sometimes, it feels good, like when you're about to receive something in the mail, it's coming. It could be something from Amazon, whatever. I don't know, Temu, anything, right? You're happy. But like as soon as you unwrap it and you open it and stuff, it's like, okay, it's on to the next. You already want something else. It's not good enough. Okay? When that is gone, going to verse 7, when that is gone, thou repenteth the loss of it, though while it was with thee, thou despiseth it. So we often fail to appreciate the blessings that we have right now in our life, and we don't appreciate it until it's gone. When it's gone, now we wish we had it, right? Now we might see it even as a blessing, So we want to want to practice gratitude on a regular basis, on a daily basis. Even if, you're not trying to go through a long list of things every night or every morning that you're grateful for, at least think of 3 things that you value each day. When I say things, people, conditions, just your health. If you can see, we all know everybody doesn't have that. It's like a privilege. Everybody isn't even gifted with sight. If you can hear, obviously you're on here, you're listening, right? So there's so much that we can be thankful for, grateful for each and every day. And just in saying and thinking those things in your mind, being grateful, it changes your mentality about life. How many of us actually like just practicing that every day and giving thanks for the simple things that people take for granted? Okay, it changes our whole mentality. It flips how we go about through the day. If it changes, it affects how we treat people. It is how we see life in general. So it's really important to do that, to practice gratitude. Okay, we never want to get all caught up in thinking about the things we don't like and all the stuff, conditions of things. Be grateful at all times. Okay, because it's as it's explained in here, it's like human nature because of the lower self, the carnal mind. It's human nature to take everything for granted, to never be satisfied. That's what happens when we're slaves to the lower self. We're the ones that's traveling the earth to and fro, seeking whom we may devour. Wanting to make situations worse instead of better. Moving on to verse 8. That which succeedeth it hath no more pleasure to thee, and thou afterwards quarreleth with thyself for preferring it. Behold, the only circumstance in which thou arrest not. Right? Being restless. The restlessness is rooted in unspiritual appetites. When we have, unclean desires or unrighteous desires, right? They're all emanating from the carnal mind and will never be satisfied. Never. Never. Remember, when we spoke about the Quran questionnaire, and the question is asked to the lower self, where are you going? Right? And the answer given is, I'm traveling the earth to and fro, seeking whom I may devour. I was speaking on that, like this description is like a beast that's in a cage, just, pacing back and forth, restless. I'm going to and fro on the earth, seeking whom I may devour. It's just this restlessness, right? And it's not good. And it causes destruction. All it's doing is seeking whom it may devour. It's not like it's going to help people. It's not like it's going to bring about anything good, right? So we don't want to be stuck in that restless state of mind. That's also why. All right. Also why when we speak about meditation here, they have like guided meditations and stuff online, and you can do those things. They work, it's good. But here I advise just, when we're talking about from the Moorish American perspective, you pray, you do the Moorish American prayer, and then you get down, you sit down and go into the silence. Right? We calm in that restless state down because that's the beast, right? Satan, devil, dragon, and beast. That's the lower self. And so the lower self, that's when you're breathing like a beast, panting, panting like a dog or like a lion or something. We want to slow the breaths down, right? We want to calm that restless mind down, make it to, make it go into make it basically calm down and be quiet, right? We're taming the beast. We're slowing our breaths down. We're not thinking about all this stuff that's coming through the lower self. We're tuning out all these thoughts, and we're just, quieting the mind. And I think that this is something that we all need to do. I'm not even gonna say I think. I know this is something that we all need to do, all of humanity, but especially as Moorish American Muslims, because eventually we're going to be leading away. We all have to be practicing prayer and meditation every day. And that quieting of the mind, slowing down the breaths, this is extremely important. We need to become strong in this, right? We need to master this. Moving on to verse 9. Is there anything in which thy weakness appeareth more than in desiring things? It is in the possessing and in the using of them. Okay. So speaking on that, weakness is most visible in how we use blessings. And that's also in the Bible in Luke 12:48, where it says, to whom much is given, much is required. So we want to look at ourselves and hang on. All right. So we want to be able to look at ourselves, look at our own actions, and to see how we're using the blessings that we have, to make sure that we're not misusing blessings, to make sure that we're not taking things for granted, right? We want to make sure that we're not taking anything for granted. We're practicing gratitude. We're making the most out of the opportunities that we have, making the most out of the blessings that we're gifted with. Okay. Moving on to verse 10. Good things cease to be good in our enjoyment of them. What nature mint, pure sweets, are sources of bitterness to us. From our delights arise pain, from our joys sorrow. All right. And this is saying just the sensual pleasure becomes suffering when it's overindulged in. Not saying that, hey, the stuff that's mentioned in here, like it's all bad. No, just saying that when we overindulge, when we take things for granted, we're going too far. And that's what this society promotes and pushes to us. Right? This Western society, Western civilization, whatever, this is what's pushed to us. So we want to exercise discipline and practice gratitude. We don't want to overindulge. All right? We don't want to take things for granted because it always backfires on us. It turns into pain, turns into bitterness. You get sorrow. You can just see that just with food, period. Overindulging in that becomes all those things that were mentioned, right? Pain, sorrow, bad health. So we want to practice mindful eating, everything, even in entertainment. There's so much entertainment. So games and stuff is so easy to access. All the TV shows and movies and the streaming. It's like everything is there for you. That's the society and type of society we live in. With, overindulgence and always being stimulated, always being entertained. It's all here. It's all easy. In America, specifically, too, more so than in other countries, it's so easy to get all this food and junk food and sweets and everything, too. It's so easy for a reason, not to make us greater, not so that we can realize our spiritual potential and be the strength of Allah may manifest. No, to make us weak and easy to rule over, weak and easy, to be discarded, right? Easy to be used. They had a movie, a children's movie, is a cartoon called Wally, and they were showing like in the future, everybody pretty much was overweight, and the people they couldn't even move anymore, and the earth just was filled with trash. Everything had gone down, and I can't. Okay, there we go. There's an example. Everybody's eating and just being entertained all day. Everybody has screens in front of them, right? And so, just a reminder, we don't want to be like that. We don't want to overindulge. That's why they make it so easy for you. You can get a big gulp for like $1.50. Even with the prices of everything rising, they still keep the junk food that's really bad for us and all that stuff cheap and easy. Right? So we don't want to overindulge. We don't want to be caught up in that way of living. Doesn't matter if that's what everyone else is doing. Right? So, sensual pleasures become suffering when we're overindulging. So moving on to verse 11, be moderate in the enjoyment, and it shall remain in thy possession. Let thy joy be founded on reason, and to its end shall sorrow be a stranger. Just once again, right? Reason is the anchor of joy, right? The disciplined mind in the Bhagavad Gita says the disciplined mind brings happiness. Okay? So that's like the wisdom from Krishna. The disciplined mind brings happiness. We want to, practice gratitude as we've been speaking about, and we want to, take everything into appreciate everything, right? And we don't want to overindulge in all the other things in life, right? We want to practice discipline. Verse 12: the delights of love are ushered in by sighs, and they terminate in languishment and dejection. The objects thou burneth for nauseates with satiety, and no sooner hast thou possessed it, but thou art weary of its presence. Just once again, love, right, is rooted in fantasy, rooted in lust. It's always going to wither, right? We don't want to, love and have it be based off of emotional, indulgence. It needs to be spiritual. It needs to be spiritual unity, right? Because it's always, if we're, moving from the lower self, from lust, from fantasy, it's going to wind up becoming an enemy to you. All right. No sooner hast thou possessed this, but thou art weary of its presence. So we want to be operating from divine love. Verse 13, join esteem to thy admiration. Unite friendship with the love. So shalt thou find in the end content so absolute that it surpasseth raptures. Tranquility more worth than ecstasy. And so this chapter is really going in all aspects of life, right? We want to have mature love, not, based off of fantasy and, and lust. And that's definitely not that's not what is promoted to us in society. So this wisdom that's being given to us is to make it so that we can, create relationships that actually mean something, that actually last. Right? In this Quran of Mecca, in Surah 30, verse 21, it says, he created for you mates. And it also says that you may find tranquility in them. Right? So it's not just to be, satisfying all these desires and stuff, right? Tranquility, having peace, right? Having calm moments, right? And, being able to be at peace, right? Because there's some people out here that, like, if things are quiet and peaceful, they trying to start an argument. And if you create a relationship off of lust or fantasy, that's who you're going to be with, right? So, we want to, be able to approach things from reason, male and female, so that we can be successful. Verse 14, Allah hath given thee no good without its admixture of evil, but he hath given thee also the means of throwing off the evil from it. So once again, we're not just victims, right? There's no good without evil. No, we have the means, right, to throw the evil off from it. So if every gift carries a challenge, right, we have the wisdom. They can see the good, and also, they can avoid the harmful. All right. And we have that wisdom. So we need to use spiritual discernment. Right. And this is the gift that we all have, or that we're all given. All right. Moving on to verse 15. As joy is not without its alloy of pain, so neither is sorrow without its portion of pleasure. Joy and grief, though unalike, are united. Our own choice only can give them to us entirely. So there's a duality to life, but we give meaning to the experience that we're going through, right? So if in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, it says, all things work together for good. And in reality, everything is what we name it is for us. Not saying that you can go out there and just eat poison and be like, oh, this is going to make me, healthier. This is going to make me do great. Not saying that, but just saying that, even though there isn't this joy without pain, right? There's no sorrow without pleasure, or vice versa. This means that also we can embrace the light. We can embrace the shadow too, or we can be grateful for it because we know it's making me stronger, right? And the choices that we make actually are what make things be, the simplest way to explain it, our choice, the way we view things is what can make it good or bad for us. Just how we see it. And how we see things in our mind. Verse 16, melancholy itself often giveth delight, and the extremity of joys are mingled with tears, right? So these things all, they're interwoven, they're mingled together, right? They're interwoven, but they all purify the soul, right? It has a reason. So once again, be grateful even for, everything that we're going through in our life, right? Because nothing's happening just for no reason. So even if you're going through a difficult time, it's happening for a reason, and be grateful for that, right? Don't get caught up in the emotional aspect of making things worse for yourself. Verse 17, the best things in the hands of a fool may be turned to his destruction, and out of the worst, the wise will find means of good. Once again, it's all in our mindset, right? It's not always what we have, but it's who uses it, right? In the Bible, in Matthew 7, verse 6, it says, do not give dogs what is sacred, right? There's also the scripture, don't cast pearls to swine, right? So we want to cultivate wisdom. That's what makes it work for us or work against us. It's all in how we view it. So blended is weakness in thy nature, O man, that thou hast not strength either to be good nor to be evil entirely. Rejoice that thou canst not excel in evil, and let the good that is within thy reach content thee, right? So in there, just speaking about the limitations that we have in the extremes, right? It's actually divine, to operate in moderation, right? And accept those limits. They're tools that we have for guidance to keep us from making things, insanely bad, right? From going too far. We have those, limitations there for a reason. Verse 19. The virtues are allotted to various stations. Seek not after impossibilities, nor grieve that thou canst not possess them, or that thou canst not possess them all. All right. We don't need to envy anyone, right? Every virtues are allotted to various stations. We don't need to envy anyone else. Every station holds its own virtue. Everyone. And we need to actually look at ourselves and honor our own divine assignment that we're all given, right? So we're not looking at anyone else with envy, right? We're all unique, and we each have our own virtues that we're being called to cultivate, right? We all have our own place. So there's nothing to envy, nothing to look down on, or, to want what someone else has. Wouldst thou at once have the liberality of the rich and the contentment of the poor? Shall the wife of thy bosom be despised because she showeth not the virtues of the widow? Right? Just once again, the looking at other people's stations, right? That's poison. Comparison poisons relationships, right? You see some relationship on TV or something, and now you bugging the person you with, right? Or you see somebody out and you think their relationship is better than yours. Come on, man. It's poison. Don't even worry about what others are doing. See, everyone, too, is having divine assignments. We're not comparing ourselves to others. All right? Not in that way, especially not looking, at others, wanting what they have. Going on to verse 21 as we wrap this up. If thy father sink before thee in the divisions of thy country, can at once thy justice destroy him, and thy duty save his life. And so in this is showing, justice and mercy, right? The life just in general, this physical life that we have, it demands us to have to make these types of choices every now and then. All right. And they have more moral dilemmas where we need to seek spiritual guidance. All right. And this is just a way of life. We all have to deal with this. All right. Moving on to verse 22. If thou behold thy brother in the agonies of slow death, it's not mercy to put a period to his life. And is it not also death to be his murderer? Just saying in there too, to approach situations wisely. Mercy requires wisdom, divine wisdom. Want to avoid playing God, right? You never want to just be, because you're in pain, your brother's slowly dying. You never want to let pain override seeking divine wisdom, divine guidance before making the next move, right? You don't want to let pain override prayer. We must always assume divine authority. We must always seek out divine wisdom. You don't want to act from emotions, because that's tapping into the lower self. Trust is but one. Thy doubts are of thine own raising. He who made virtues what they are planted in thee a knowledge of their preeminence. Act as thou soul dictates to thee, and the end shall always be right. We are equipped. All of us are equipped with divine intuition, even divine moral intuition, and we must obey it. All right. In the scriptures in the Bible, in John 16, verse 13, it says, the spirit of truth will guide you into, the spirit of truth will guide you into all truth. So what we want to do is strengthen our connection, right? Strengthen our connection to soul, strengthen our connection to spirit, which is one with Allah. And that's why we want to practice going into the stillness at least twice a day as Muslims, right? Don't care what other Muslims are doing all over the world, right? As Muslims here, as Moorish American Muslims, follow Prophet Noble Drew Ali to a destiny that is neither uncertain nor unknown. We should all be practicing prayer and meditation at least twice a day. When we get up, and I'm not saying you have to take a long time, but when we get up, pray and then go into the stillness. Even if all you got is 5 minutes, do it. We want to strengthen our connection. This is what we're doing. We're building up our connection to the unseen realm because we all have it. And you can trust that compass, the moral compass that's within. You can trust that more than what anyone else is saying. All right. And we all have access to it. So, just wrapping everything up. These are, some of the things that we were speaking about within here. We want to make sure we're all practicing gratitude. I mean, if you're not just going over everything that you're grateful for, when you go to sleep or when you wake up, at least find 3 things a day that you are grateful for. At the very least, right? You don't want to take for granted your sight. You're able to get up and walk around and pick things up, and just little things that we all can take for granted. You don't want to take that stuff for granted. Give thanks. Don't wait until you lose it or until you're in the hospital or something before you realize, how grateful, how blessed you are. We want to do that all the time. That's a way of life for us, living in gratitude. Okay. And paying attention to, why we're doing things. Why do I want this? Why do I desire this? Why am I getting this? Right? Understand, just know. So that we're knowing what we're doing. We're correcting ourselves if we're just getting stuff just to be getting stuff. All right. And making sure that we're not overindulging in things. We're practicing discipline. All right. And as long as we're doing that, we're strengthening our connection to the higher self. We're strengthening our connection to soul. And we are on the right path. That's really all that we are expected to do. just to do that little bit of work to make sure that we're on the right path. And as long as we're doing that, everything that we do is going to work out. There's a couple. Well, I'll announce these things later, but there's a couple things I wanted to announce before we close out. But really, that's all that I wanted to speak on. In regards to chapter 42. But if we just make sure we're doing this work, you will be amazed and shocked or surprised by what you're able to accomplish in your own life. And then as we work together as a collective to build up our Moorish community and our nation, everything that we do will be amazing. Okay, but we have to do that work on ourselves. There's no other way around it, and nobody can do this work for you. Okay, so this chapter was dealing with the imbalance of the soul and getting realigned with our divine nature, Islam. And on that note, Moors, I yield the floor back to our chairman, Islam.
Islam, Grand Sheik, and powerful measure. And before we go into the closing, I yield the floor for any questions or announcements.
Yeah,
Islam.
Islam. Yeah, I like to re-rise. So I just wanted to comment on what you said earlier, Kobe, because you had asked the question about the demonstration that I gave. You said, what would the prophet call it? And so basically, the things that we're talking about, and also this chapter here, I would say, and from my perspective, the prophet will call it the mastermind, because in verse chapter 11, verse 36, it says, in yonder kingdom of the soul, this carnal evolution is not known. And the great work of the masterminds is to restore the heritage of man and bring him back to his estate that he lost, which he again will live upon the ethers of his native plane. And so that's kind of what I get, because everything builds us up to being a mastermind. And it's like four of the times that I Quran mentions the mastermind. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam. Okay, well, in that aspect, on that, let's camelback. Let's go a little deeper in that one there. In that aspect, in the same question, that aspect, because that's one that we were going into the soul subconscious, correct? The soul subconscious. The soul subconscious, okay, that was definitely a great measure. And you completely correct. Completely correct. When it comes to soul subconscious. But now one question would be, is the soul subconscious the conscious, or is the soul subconscious something? Because I was looking into the measures of that and doing my studies on that, is meaning the latent powers that we all possess, like the Grand Sheik was saying earlier, that we all possess, is all in us, that we may not be able to circumscribe in words. And Islam, I see that hand up, and I yield the floor.
Islamism. I would like to give all perfect praises to our Father God Allah, honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to all the Moors in the call. Islamism. When you first mentioned the soul subconscious, the first thing that came to my mind was the thought, the subconscious thought. More like if the subconscious was like the spirit, then the thought would be like its soul. It creates the spirit, or the subconscious creates the thought. And if we are aligned with the words and instructions of the prophet, then our subconscious will create a thought that will save us. Islamism.
Islam. So my question would be, is the subconscious, now again too, we in a duality, we have the higher and the lower self. So if the subconscious is not trained, will the subconscious give an answer off of either the lower self, could be the carnal, or by training, would the subconscious give the higher self, meaning closer to Allah. That's the deeper meaning. Islam, and I don't even. I'm doing my studies on that. I yield the floor on that one.
Islam. I think to go into that, it would be good to pull up the measure from the Bible speaking about Esau. Um, hang on, let's see, pull that up. Esau and Jacob. Okay, or Isaac. Well, okay, yeah, okay. Here we go. So go to Genesis chapter 27. Trying to put it on the screen. Okay. And I'm gonna show why I'm saying, this will help with the subconscious, right? Okay, so I'm not gonna read this whole chapter, but you can go on your own, Morris, and read chapter 25 in Genesis. I'll put that in the chat too, and without taking up a whole bunch of time. All right, so we're speaking about the story with Jacob and Esau, the sons of Rebecca and Isaac, that through the lineage of Abraham. Okay, so when you look at the Bible, everything in there is not to be taken literally. We're speaking about the mind, and you're given instructions, just like the prophet is giving us instructions, right? Going back to what we just spoke on in chapter 42, the prophet is giving us instructions to subdue our carnal mind and to begin to act from divine wisdom. Why? Because the subconscious is uncaring. Not it's the subconscious doesn't have an opinion. It's like the silent observer. The impressions that we make on the subconscious will be manifested into the physical realm. So we do not want to make, emotional pleas to the subconscious from the carnal mind, because we're going to be bringing about, you know, heartache and pain and everything that's mentioned in that chapter into our life. And when you look at the story of Jacob and Esau, um, their father is about to die. He's old. He's about to bless his oldest son with his inheritance. Okay, because that's how they practiced things back then. And so the father's blind, right? Like the subconscious mind. He's blind. He's just going to bless the one that comes to him that feels like the oldest son. And in this chapter, right, Esau's the oldest son. He's a hunter. He's hairy, right? He's gonna come prepare some of the he's gonna come and prepare some of the food that he hunted and killed for the father, so he can receive the blessing. All right, he's the oldest son. Jacob wants that birthright, and so Jacob speaks with the mother and lets her know he wants the birthright, and she has him put on a fur so that he feels like his older brother, and she's telling him he'll take him this meat so that he can get the birthright from the blind father, because the blind father is just going to feel him. Whatever feeling gets the blessing, right? And so anyway, in this story, to make a long story short, Jacob winds up receiving the blessing. He goes to the father feeling like the older son, feeling like the one who deserved the birthright, and he receives it. And if you're looking at that from any other perspective, you'll be like, oh, that's how Esau stole the blessing. You're looking at it the wrong way. This is just telling a mental story that applies to all people. The subconscious is unfeeling, uncaring. It's the silent observer. Whatever we are thinking and feeling, it makes an imprint on the subconscious mind. That's what we're creating. And now, just going back to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, this is why he's teaching us to practice discipline. Don't have these unrestrained desires. Recognize all these thoughts that we have aren't coming from on high, right? They're coming from the carnal mind. They're coming from the lower self. So begin to see this and now begin to, control what we're entertaining. Islam, Sister Lachelle, that's right. Thought is the cause of it all. So it can be positive, it can be negative. And if we know, as we are taught here, that the lower self is traveling to and fro, seeking out whom it may devour, why would we want to entertain those thoughts? Because all that's going to do is bring about heartache and pain in our own life, right? So we want to be wary of what we're doing, what we're thinking, even what we're thinking. This is why also with our 5 divine principles, we want to make sure that our thoughts, deeds, and actions all fall within the bounds of righteousness. This is why even when it's talking about in this very chapter, in chapter 42, how there's highs and lows in life, but to find how to be grateful, find out, look and seek how this could be working out for you. Even if you don't know how it could be working out for you, see how it could be working out for you. See how these hard times that you're going through are making you stronger. Right? How it's making you, it's making you stronger, it's making you better. Don't ever dwell on the negative, because that's the impression you're making on your own subconscious mind. And instead of things getting greater later, it's going to get worse. Okay? So we don't want to have unrestrained desires. We don't want to just be out here just acting like everybody else. You're supposed to be different. You're a Moorish American Muslim. You descend from the creators of civilization. Our ancestors weren't just the ancient Moors. Our ancestors didn't even have a lower self. We have divine origin. We are seeds of Allah. We have all the potencies and all the abilities of our Father. Right? Allah is the Father. The mother is nature. The mother is earth. The seed, as it says in chapter 1, we're seeds of Allah. So the seed was planted in the earth and grew, this earthly body, right? But Allah is within us. So this is what we want to tap into. We don't want to be in just this cycle of just creating from the lower self, not doing a great job, not being, the highest and the greatest that we could possibly be, not being the strength of Allah made manifest. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam Grand Sheikh. So I have one quick question. So this is dealing with act number 6, when it says with us, we're teaching our members to claim their nationality. So I do have a question for you. So like my sons, I did put the slavery marks on them, saying without knowledge, but because they're part Native American. So when they got older, they got registered into their tribe, which is Simshin. So if they came into the Moorish movement, would they choose to be? Would they be considered Moorish Americans, or would they choose to be like Moorish Simpsons, or would they have the choice to become Moorish Americans or Moorish Simpsons? And I wanted to ask you that question, like, how would that work? So I know, like with the Hebrew Israelites, you go by what your father is, and so I was kind of curious with that. And with that, I give up the mic.
Islam, just in just straight talk, like if you're their father, they're considered Asiatic, they will be able to be Moorish Americans, plain and simple. Because if their father or mother could be marked as, potentially as black, or have those marks, those slavery, on them, Negro, black, colored, then that means that they're of that descent. These are the people that the prophet was talking about or referring to. So I mean, and when you get down to it, like, regardless of how you look, like how light skinned, dark skinned you are, like, do you really know like what other mixtures are going on in your bloodline? Probably not. Especially once you go back beyond your grandparents. So it's like a lot of us, like probably everybody on this call, whether you realize it or not, has other bloodlines going through you, whether you can tell or not. So it's like that isn't really all that important. It's just mainly like, especially with the parents, the mom and the dad, they had the marks of black on them. African American, black, that then okay, they're Moorish American. And especially like the parents, but then maybe even the grandparents too. Hey, did your grandparents have those marks on them? Okay, that means you're of that line of descent. But really, just to keep it simple, the mom or the dad or both of them, that means you're Moorish American. That don't
Okay.
those people want to claim it, but that's what it takes. Especially with the mom or the dad or both mom and dad, could be classified as black, then that means you're Moorish American.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Islam. Yeah, because their mom wasn't classified as black. She was just always classified as full Native American. Yeah, Islam. So I kind of get it. So by me being with so-called black, they can claim Moorish American. Okay, I kind of get it now. Yeah.
Yeah, they would claim that because of their fathers. Yeah.
Okay, Islam. Yeah.
Yep. All right, Islam. I see you, brother Yabe. I yield the floor.
Islamism, I re-rise. In simpler terms, we can all put it like this. We go back into chapter 47 when it talks about us being Moabites being over here as well. Our tribal affiliations doesn't really dictate, like we all come from different tribes, right? As in today's time, but all of those tribes of today are linked to the ancient Canaanite tribes. So my son's mother is from like the western part of the United States of America in today's time. Their family tribal names are Osage and Blackfoot. Over in the eastern part, my family on my mom's side is Cherokee. We all are part of the ancient Canaanite tribes. We all are Moabites and Canaanites. So we all are part of the same nation. So yes, Islamism.
Islam. Great demonstration. As well as we can also look up to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And even with us, the de factor that puts us all in the alliance of any Native American tribe is just where your people kind of were at. Like, say, like, if you can look at a Native American tribe and be like, okay, if you were in New Mexico area, Arizona area, you have more of a Hopi and those different tribes. But again, now when you dig deeper in the Native American tribes, too, that ties back into Moorish American, because Moorish Americans also, it digs deeper than those tribes because it goes all over the planet. Now, when it comes to the tribe of Native American, we are all of that. That's real easy to debunk because they named us from that to Negro, to colored, to what we started calling each other because they didn't care what we called each other afterwards. I mean, once I made a name for you and you played around with the name whatever names that I made from you, I don't really kind of care. But when it comes to the tribes and the tribes are being tied as Moors, look up what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was. I forgot what tribe he was. It started with an A. And those tribes, when it comes to Seminole meaning just any Native American. So, and he was a part of the Seminole tribe as well. Islam.
Islam. Yeah. So I guess I was like being like super analytical. 'Cause I know that we were talking about like our brothers and sisters over in Mexico, they'd be considered like Mexican Moors or something like that. I know that we're all Moors because we're Asiatics. And you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was asking. I know that some of us can be considered like Mexican Moors, Cuban Moors, or like Asian Moors. And so that's why I was like breaking that part down. So I know that we are Moors so from the family. So and that's what I was basically trying to break down. And with that, I give up the mic.
Now, Islam, you got to kind of be careful with that because that's who accepts it. Nationality. More is not a race. That's a nationality. So it's who accepts the nationality of that. And, some do, some don't, depending on what they know. and how deeply they know them, their heritage, and that, like, even like when I'm out here, it can go back and forth. Like, say, like, for instance, a person from Puerto Rico and islands, say they know that I think it's a Taino, that is a Moor. You know what I'm saying, to them, and like a Jamaican, they know a maroon is a Moor. So like any Jamaican, they'll talk Garviness, they'll know exactly what we talking about, and they'll know exactly. But it's like it's a little bit different because again, that's gonna be a little bit different because say like for instance, the person I know that owns a bookstore, he's a Jamaican, came out here in 1965. He's 80 years old. Seems like he's 50 years old, but he knows of us as well. But is going to be a different story because his story is going to be a story of what it is in Jamaica, Islam. So it's like, so you got to also understand the dynamic that we all over the planet, and we are a nationality that's all over the planet. And we are the Moors in America that are here. So then we're getting back to ourselves and our customs as well. But yeah, we all a likeness. It's all likeness. Even with the Native Americans, it's all a likeness. And they, even most should know. But again, that's just like with anybody. And any different groups of people, some can know depending on how deeply they do their studies, and then some don't know, just like our people. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. All right, thank you, brother. Yeah.
Islam. Grand Sheikah, you said you had a few more announcements before we go into closing.
Oh yeah, Islam. So just wanted to just announce a few things. So we will be having a vendors booth at the Comfest. Comfest is going to be at Goodale Park in Columbus, Ohio, June 27th, 28th, and 29th. So it's that whole weekend, and we'll be there. For some of the officers, make sure you check your email. Officers and prospective officers are sending out an email just with some of the details about that, and also with the video for a meeting that we had recently, just yesterday. Make sure you check that meeting out. It's short, like 30 minutes, and check out the PDF. It's got details from that. But yeah, so we will be at Confest, with the booth for the temple and our investment group, and just wanted to let everybody know that that's coming up at the end of June. And that's it. Islam, yield the floor back to our chairman.
Islam. And this was definitely great bill, great holy day, great powerful measure. I would like to announce without further ado, we go into the closing of the meeting. To be proclaimed at every meeting, Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the prophet is not right. The temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This instruction is from your prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they'll be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, 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 Ism. The divine instructions. The covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land, which thy Lord, thy God, Allah, hath given thee. Come all ye Asiatics of America and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefather ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. Fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nations of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of his higher and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Koran of Mecca for the teaching and the instructions for all Moorish Americans. ETC. The Holy Koran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Know yourself and your Father God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree, uniting of Asia. Islam. Islam, Morris. 1 sec. Islam, or without further ado, we will be going to the closing. The closing prayer. Again, cactus pose, 2 fingers to the right, 5 to the left, feet in a 90-degree angle. You do not have to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefather, divine creed and principles. We ask this in our 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Holy Day. Peace and love, Muslims. This meeting is now adjourned.
Happy Holy Day, peace and love.
Happy Holy Day. Peace and love.
Happy Holy Day. Peace.
Happy Holy Day.
I love you.
Happy Holy Day.
Happy Holy Day.